Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Moss from INSTORE Magazine, and today we're happy to bring you a Clientbook sponsored webinar, Unlock the Biggest Holiday Season You've Ever Had. And we're joined today by Brandon Wright, CEO of Clientbook, and Ryan Blumenthal, Clientbook Vice President of Business Development and owner of Corinne Jewelers in Toms River, New Jersey. And for those of you who may not know, Clientbook is a mobile app that facilitates easy clienteling by high-ticket retail sales associates. And by using Clientbook, retailers gain visibility and control over the customer experience, resulting in more store visits, better sales conversion rates, and higher average dollar sales. And we all like those. So the formal part of today's presentation comes first in this hour, and we'll be back for the Q&A. But if you have any questions, please write them in the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll take them after the formal presentation. Until then, Brandon and Ryan, the floor is yours.
Great, thanks, Barbara. We're really excited for you guys to join us today. We know that it's a busy time of the year, and so we hope that some of our discussion points here today can really help you unlock the biggest holiday season you've ever had. So a little background first. I'll give a little background on myself. I am the CEO, as Barbara mentioned, of Clientbook. My background is in retail. I started my career at a larger retailer, Target, at their headquarters. I worked as a buyer there, and then also worked in a strategy role there as well. Left Target to go do an MBA. I did that abroad in Barcelona, Spain. And learned quite a bit about business, and decided after leaving that I wanted to start my own tech company, and not Clientbook, a different one. But while doing that, we saw an opportunity to really help retailers to lean into their competitive advantage, which we believe is building relationships with their customers. And that's why we started Clientbook, why I started Clientbook, and why we're here today.
I'm Ryan Blumenthal, Vice President of Business Development here at Clientbook. As Barbara said, I also own Corinne Jewelers. I'm a third-generation jeweler, and I met Brandon a few years back when he had just developed Clientbook and was coming into the jewelry space, and found a really perfect fit with jewelers, and I was one of his first clients. And I used it in my store and took about 2 weeks to fall in love with it, wanting to be more involved and help Brandon continue to build Clientbook, a great tool for retailers. So in this presentation today, I'll certainly bring both aspects of being involved with Clientbook, but also what I go through on a daily basis as a retailer. Which kind of brings us to the time of year that we're in. It's here, and we've been waiting all year for this. And I'm sure you're looking at these pictures. That's not quite, what a jewelry store is going to look like. But based off talking to all of our clients this year and friends in the industry, it's not too far off. I mean, things have been very busy. So, and that's what we're hoping that this is going to be the next couple of weeks. And I think we're we have good reason to believe that. Every day there's different articles coming out here from the National Federation of Retailers saying that they anticipate this to be the biggest holiday season on record. Just here, growth over 10% over last year, and I'm sure everybody on this call probably looks at last year as their best year in retail. Who would have thought, right, with COVID? In-store and online. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday, everything is pacing towards being a record holiday. So that's good. But why the anxiety? So, and I say that, I can say that clearly, and comfortably as a retailer, because even though things are good, I know there's lots of phone calls from retailer to retailer this time of year, just kind of supporting each other and saying, what do you think it's going to be like? Do you think it's going to be as good as it appears to be? Because a lot depends on the next couple of weeks. And if we go to the next slide, it's understandable that we have a certain amount of anxiety. Is this next 6 weeks, it can be upwards of 30% of business, for typically certain volume stores, or 30%, others are around 20, 22%. But any way you crack that, that's a huge number of somebody's business. And even though things have been good all year, we tend to put a lot of weight on our success, or our measurement of how we are as a retailer, by our ability to hit this goal in the next 6 weeks, regardless of whatever happened previously. We really just kind of say, if you had a bad Christmas, then it's all for naught. And if you had a great one, well, hey, cheers, and we did it, we pulled it off. So a lot of anxiety about what that's going to be. We think it's going to be good, but who knows, especially in COVID world environment where every prediction has pretty much been wrong. So we have anxiety about that. So what most business owners do is, okay, let me make sure I'm covered with everything. And we got the ads out on the radio, and we have our digital ads, a whole bunch of different things we could do there. And we got our billboards, and we're coming up with creative that we're hoping to connect with people, and they're going to see this and connect to our business, and they're going to come through our doors in the next 6 weeks. But we like to say hope is not a strategy. It's something that, and a lot of advertising, man, it's nerve-wracking putting it out there. It costs so much, and is it working? Is it effective? What works? What doesn't? What's going to drive people through the store? And that's a really nerve-wracking thing for any business owner. The good news is we all have a secret weapon, and that secret weapon is our customers. Most people on this call have probably been in business for a very long time, and they have just thousands of customers that are in their database. And Brandon and I want to spend some time today talking about how to take advantage of that, because we're clientelers. That's what we believe in. It's not to say other means of advertising aren't important. They are. But if you're not zeroed in and focused on this, we really think you're leaving a lot on the table. And I think we have good reason to believe that way. It starts from everything from that it's 25 times more expensive to go out and get a new customer than to pull an existing customer in. Okay, it's a lot less expensive. They're going to be more profitable because of that. So just increasing retention rates by 5% can increase profits by 25%. And of course, while the top line sales is important in business, what we really shoot for is profit. And this is a great way to manage that. Probably my favorite one about your existing customer base is that their conversion rate is twice that of new customers. So people come through the door, are they buying, or are they going to say, oh, I'm going to think about it, I'm going to bring my sister in, or I'll be in next week and I'm just getting ideas? You're going to hear that mostly from new customers, and because you haven't earned their trust yet. With existing customers, they're coming in and they're buying. So that is a great thing for everybody to kind of acknowledge and then build a plan around it. In order to build the right plan, you really got to take a look at your customers, we believe, and segment them properly, because they're different audiences with different messages and different kind of strategies this time of year to get people's attention and to bring them in. And I know in my store, we've thought about these in kind of 3 different buckets that we put our customers into. There's our VIPs, there's our steady eddies, and our one-timers. I'm gonna spend a couple minutes kind of walking you through how I feel about these and the kind of the strategies around them. But so we have our VIPs, and this is one that most people know in stores. They know who these customers are, and because this is really, in the context of thousands of customers, this is a small number. This may be like a couple hundred, but these are heavy owners of jewelry from your store. These are the people that they walk in and everybody is pumped. It's going to be a good day, okay? And it's because they're kind of what they're going to buy that day is going to make a meaningful impact on the business. There are also customers that you're taking a look at a list and saying, man, we have to see them this year. I really hope, or maybe in a not great way, if it's past the holiday time and you say, wow, we didn't see them this year. That hurts. That really hurts. So here's what they need. Here's what we think VIPs need, and you should have a strategy around. You should have a highly personalized offer to your VIPs, not just kind of marketing that's out there. They deserve highly personalized offers from you and your staff. Creating a collection that's based off history of what they bought in your store, really understanding what they're likely to purchase, and starting to do that research on their behalf. And by doing a few of those daily, you're really going to impact kind of the next 6 weeks. If each staff member is doing a few of those, and really that VIP list, they all deserve that kind of personalized attention. And most importantly, you have the ability to do it because it's the smallest number in your store. So got to understand who your VIPs are. The next two groups get a little bit harder. Next group is Steady Eddie. So Steady Eddie comes in once a year, maybe around the holidays, or maybe they're an anniversary buyer. They're one of the biggest segments of your customer base. So this could be 1,000 people, whereas VIPs maybe 200, 300. This could 1,000, 1,500 people when you start seeing running the numbers in your own customer bases. Same rules apply here, that these customers are more likely to buy if they are invited or offered a personalized level of service. So just mailing them the postcard saying we're having a sale, we'll get some of them, but it's not going to get all of them. And it's certainly not going to get that level of personalized attention that they deserve. And the reason that this keeps getting harder is this list is now growing to 1,000, 1,500 customers. So how could you scale that personalized level of attention towards them? Well, if you make a plan for it, I think the results will speak for themselves, because this is really an important customer base to get through your doors. And then lastly, who are the customers that they've just bought once? So these can be customers that they're either new to your store this year, or maybe they bought something 2 Christmases ago, didn't come back, but there's not a whole lot of history, but they came to your store and they bought something. And these are customers between them and Steady Eddie that nobody really reaches out to in a personalized way, because they simply don't have the time to do it. It's just too many people, and we all have staff that's kind of just living in the moment of customers walk in, they're servicing them, and it's really hard to get them to reach out to this many people. But still, personalized attention to 3 of those groups will have more people coming through your door this holiday than ever before. And like we said, their conversion rate is going to be a lot better. So the customer segmentation of, who are these customers and how might I treat them? Easy, right? And then, we asked that a little, being a little sarcastic there, because what we just explained is a lot of work. It's thousands of customers that you're trying to kind of put into these buckets, and then that's not just enough. You want a plan for your staff to be able to act on it. That really encapsulates why this is going to be hard to do. It's going to be hard because what we're really talking about is scaling. If we write somebody and invite them into the store, here, we built a collection for you based off previous purchases. I don't know if you're thinking jewelry this year, but if you are, then I'd really love to make an appointment with you to show you. I think we all agree that that's a wonderful way to reach out to customers. And you could do that a certain amount, but you're going to run out of time. and it's not going to scale. So that's where people get, the steady eddies never get contacted. The people that was the first time customer this year, they're not going to get contacted. And it's just time consuming and difficult in its current state. What most stores are at right now is they print out something from their point of sale. Maybe they print out their VIPs, and if they do segment their clients, they could print out those lists and they just hand it over to their staff and say, hey, these are your customers, go nuts, right? That is really time consuming and difficult. And because it's kind of siloed in different places, from a management standpoint, that's impossible to manage. There's no visibility. There's, just a suggestion that you should reach out to these people isn't enough. You need to be able to manage it. So that's what I wanted to kind of discuss, what a proper plan might be to reach out. And I want Brandon to kind of pick up from here and show you how we accomplish this at Clientbook through great technology.
Yeah, so thanks, Ryan, for kind of setting the stage here. Let's talk about some practical things to do. So first, whether you're a Clientbook customer right now or not, or you're just doing this through kind of lists that you have, the first step is segmenting these customers into what we might call smart lists, or in the app, we use this term called tags, right? And so Ryan mentioned a few lists that are important. Your VIPs, you want to tag all your VIP customers. Make sure that they have that tag. Your steady eddies, your one-timers, obviously you can use whatever terminology makes sense for your team there. But creating those tags, adding them to the customers, or creating these lists, printing them out, and giving them to your sales team, that's like the basic step. What's nice about being able to do this in the app is once you have these lists segmented, then it's really easy to be able to filter down to those clients. And if you can filter down to those clients, then with the tap of a button, you can send messages, you can create reminders for your sales team, you can send an invite to a trunk show, let's say, maybe one of the tags you see on here, maybe Hearts on Fire, right, is a tag, and you're having a Hearts on Fire trunk show, or you got some new Hearts on Fire inventory in for the holiday season, and you want to look at all your VIPs that like Hearts on Fire, or all your steady eddies that have, that attended ladies' night the night before or previously. You can really easy segment those down and then decide what you're going to do with those customers, how you're going to reach out. Now, Ryan touched on this briefly, but with your VIP customers, you need to personalize the offering with collections. Now, if you can do this for all your customers, that's great, but especially your VIP customers, you need to really personalize that offering. So your team probably knows who these people are, you probably know who these VIPs are, and you probably have a decent idea of what they've purchased in the past, or what they're interested in, or the types of products that they like. In Clientbook, you can create these collections where you just quickly add the items and send them a link. And what they'll get is what you see here on the back computer screen is kind of like a private Pinterest board that's branded and white labeled for your company. It has their name on it. It makes them feel really special. And they're seeing the products that you recommend, seeing the names of those, then they can easily reach out and say, oh, I love that heart-to-heart ring. I think my spouse might really love that as a gift. Can I either come in and see it? How much would it cost? Can you send me a link to pay? Whatever that might be. So we feel like personalizing your offerings with collections is critical to getting those people into your store and really maximizing sales this holiday season. And then a third piece here is creating goals and then tracking them. So I'm sure all of you have sales goals, right? You each have a goal of probably down to the day and maybe even the hour as we get closer to Christmas of how many sales you need to do within a certain period of time. And when it comes to the client reach out, it's the same way. So you have now your list of VIPs, your steady eddies, your one-timers. You customize these collections or personalize the offerings for them. And now we need to say, okay, I need every sales associate to reach out to X number of people every single day, right? Or let's take our one-timers and we're going to send them, you know, an offer just to come back into the store and see if we can turn them into somebody that's more like a steady Eddie. But our VIPs, we're going to do a very personalized reach out to those customers, and every single associate's going to need to touch them. And so I need to make sure that that's happening. And so you need to create those goals. You need to track them, however that might be. Otherwise, you know, all of this is just nice fluff and talk here. But just like you create goals around sales, let's create goals around reaching out to your clients, client communication, and client engagement as well. Let's say we get through the holiday season, right? Dust settles, you know, fantastic holiday season, I'm sure, as we're all expecting here. You probably are going to take a quick break, take your family down to Disney World, whatever that might be, and then the cycle starts over again. So in January, we're going to come back into the store. We're going to start looking at our sales numbers, and now we're going to have to comp sales numbers the previous year that were record numbers. And we don't want to see negatives on there. We want to see positives. We want to continue to see growth. So how can we take what we're doing now in the holiday season and use it to drive that sale going forward? We look at these new customers that are coming into your store right now, all the customers that come in because you're spending money on radio ads, you're spending money on the billboards, on digital ads, all this advertising, you're getting new customers, and that is just the beginning of their life cycle with you, right? You have one-timers, but we don't want them just to be the one-timer. We want them to be the steady Eddies. We want them to continue to come back. So all these customers coming into your store, it's an opportunity for repeat business. And as I talk about how we can do that, I want to touch on one piece here. So, you know, here at Clientbook, we talk a lot about lifetime value. And you might talk about lifetime value of a customer in your store as well. A lifetime value, what that means to us is we have one customer. We've worked hard to get that customer, and how long is that customer going to be with us? Or in your store, how often are they going to come back and purchase? How much are they going to purchase over time? And that may be, let's say on average, you know, someone spends $700 in your store. Great. Well, if they come once, that's $700. Now, if they come twice, you're already up to $1,400, $2,100, and you can see how this can continue to grow. And you've done all the hard work. Ryan mentioned the data. You've done all the hard work. You've spent the money to get them into your store. Now let's just continue to add on to that lifetime value of a customer. And how do we do that? Well, in Clientbook, we have some things, we call them sales triggers, right? And what happens is when someone makes a purchase, we can set up a very personalized message to go out at some point in the future to invite them to come back in based on that, whatever purchase that is that they made. One example is an engagement ring. They come in, make a purchase of an engagement ring, and we want them to come in, or any piece of jewelry, we want them to come in every 6 months for a clean and check. Well, why do we want them to come in? That's a free service that we're offering. Doesn't that reduce my margins? What it's doing is it's creating new sales opportunities for you with these would-be one-timers, but now they're steady Eddies and maybe even VIPs because of it. So here's just a quick video that shows how that works with Clientbook. And so these sales triggers, these personalized messages can be set up based off of the category of the sale, based on the price point of the sale. The actions can be customized, the messaging can be customized, all of that. But we have some, you know, best practices that we start retailers off with, that we ship the product with, and then from there you can go in and make the adjustments that you need. The next thing that we think is really important to increase the lifetime value of these customers that are coming in are these reminders for your sales team. So again, reminders, you know, maybe you don't want to automate the messaging, but you want to remind the sales team, hey, we should be reaching out to this type of customer in the future. Now, you're busy, you've got a lot of stuff to do, and so we need to be able to do it without you talking to your sales team or looking over their back or just, you know, micromanaging there. With Clientbook, we can automate those reminders for your sales team. And those automated reminders can come from a bunch of different ways. I mean, they could come from based off of a purchase. They could come based off of what a client has done in your store during the holiday season, or it could come off of those tags. So maybe we set certain reminders for our VIPs. Maybe we set others for our steady eddies. Maybe we set others for those one-timers, just to try and get them up to that next bucket. But why are these important to talk about now? Well, specifically when it comes to Clientbook, these triggers, both the sales triggers that we talked about on the last slide and these reminders here on this slide, they get set up when a customer makes a purchase. So if we've waited until January to start this, we've missed everybody that's come into the holidays, into our store during the holiday season, all those first-time new customers that we have. Because what happens is when they make the purchase in the point of sale, then we create these triggers at that point in time. So we don't want to miss out on those, which is why we're talking about these now. So just in summary, with Clientbook, really what we're trying to do is help you extend that holiday season year round. Right now, you put in a lot of work. You spend a lot of money to get these customers in your store. And we need to keep those customers coming back so that your profits are higher, so that your return on investment is higher, so your customer lifetime value is higher, and it's going to benefit your store. And as we go into the new year, you're going to continue to see record year upon record year upon record year. So, we always invite you to come check out Clientbook. If you're not a client already, to come check out Clientbook and see it for yourself. You can go to clientbook.com/demo. We obviously offer free demos there, or you can reach out to our email or call in there, and we'll be able to get you to the right person. Thanks for joining us today. We're really excited and would love to take your questions.
Thanks so much, Brandon. We do have a couple of questions that came in, but we have a nice comment that actually came in, which I'll share with you all. A retailer writes, "We have loved Clientbook as a tool. We're looking to expand the use of Clientbook to be one step ahead of the holidays and then ensure our staff is always ready to go with the right recommendations for clients." So I thought you'd like that one. And now we've got a more difficult question. Here's something that, and I'm sure, Ryan, you can probably identify with this one. A retailer writes, "I think that the challenge I have coming up is that I will be too busy during the busiest season to reach out individually, so scheduling my texts will be critical. But will I be available to answer them? It's tough because I need to attend to the busy store." So you've got, a smaller operation, a one-man band possibly. What would you recommend that this particular retailer do to use Clientbook most efficiently?
Yeah, I mean, and I really relate with that challenge that it is a busy time of year. That's why when we talk to people, we say, "Hey, I know you intend to reach out to all your customers. You're not going to, because you're going to get too busy, and we believe that that's bad business, right? So you should have a plan to use technology to make sure that you could scale this. Now, being able to be responsive to that, I would just say, hey, that's quicker than you would imagine, right? You're sending this out to 100 people one day, okay, and 15 people write you back and say, "Yeah, right, I do want to come in. Can you send me this and that?" Absolutely. I'm gonna send you a picture now, but what I really want you to do is come to the store. It's such a crazy time of year. I'd love to see you. So it depends on their particular situation. If you do have staff and you could kind of keep handing that convo off to staff, then hey, they're gonna love that all day, because rarely are they just so busy, but the owner definitely gets hit up a lot, and that is a challenge. So it depends on the situation, but I think as long as you have a plan for it, you'll be okay.
So the answer would be have a plan and know exactly what you want to do.
Have a plan, send it out. Anybody that writes back, they're an opportunity. Even if the message is short, shoot them a message, get them in the store.
Gotcha. Thanks. Here's a question that's come in about training. A retailer writes, "What's the best way to train our staff to use Clientbook? Can you explain your training process?"
I can explain from the client book perspective, and then maybe Ryan can jump in and share just his experience in training his store. So with client book, for each new client, we assign them a customer success manager, or you could think of them like a consultant. And that consultant is on the phone with you. They're setting up the account. Like I said, we ship out of the box with certain things, but maybe there's something unique to your store. They'll get that all squared away for you. Make sure that your clients are in here, make sure the data, make sure everything's set up. And then they schedule trainings with your team. And there's a couple trainings there. You know, we can do it depending on the store, where in some situations we train a trainer and then they train their team. But in most cases, you know, for a single location jeweler, we'll just do a webinar training with them, jump in. It's a mobile app. It's something that people are familiar with, pretty comfortable with nowadays. And that consultant, that customer success manager that we have, their whole goal is to make sure that your team is up and running. Now, we understand too that the holidays are a busy season. And so if you would prefer, we have a boiled down kind of holiday training. Let's get you just on the core, on the basics that you're going to see the most benefit from, like some of these things that we talked about in this webinar today during the holiday season. And then once January rolls around, you've got a little bit more time on your plate, then we can dive in even deeper. And like that comment that was mentioned, we can start using all of the different aspects of client book and setting up all the different keys there for you.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Ryan, did you want to add anything to that? Because you're out in the field.
Yeah. I would just say I can say with my own staff and rollouts of client book that I've been involved in, the most successful way to do it is, you know, with very kind of, you know, chunks of it at a time, where, you know, if you're coming on with us now, let us set up the app where within one button click, they have all their VIP customers. And then they click another button and that's all their steady eddies. And then they click another button and that's all their first time customers. And your explanation to them is going to be really simple. Do this with this bucket, do this with this bucket, and this with another one. And Clientbook itself is built like a consumer app. So you just intuitively know how to navigate it for the most part. Now, it's a very rich app too, with lots of different things you could do with it. So the correct way to kind of onboard in Clientbook is start with the kind of blocking and tackling of clienteling, and then you just layer on more as you get more involved in the technology. And this way, staff isn't overwhelmed by it either. They can start with the easy stuff, and then we get it just kind of being their personal assistant.
And I'm sorry, I don't really know how it works, but do people, for example, they would keep their database in something like Excel or Numbers or something like that, and that would be uploaded? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we can pull directly from a lot of different points of sale through a partner that we have. And so if most of our clients have their database already in their point of sale, and then we just get the data directly from that.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Here's a question that's come in. What is your best way to get someone who is just looking to buy? Ryan, that's your question, I think. Is you can tell another retailer how to make that move, and maybe what kind of recommendations, what Clientbook can do to help kind of get that moving.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that, we were talking about Shane Decker before this, so he's probably an even better advice there for conversion over the counter. But a few things from a Clientbook's perspective. One, if they're your customer already, their conversion is going to be double. So you want to invite all of your customers into your store this holiday. And then two, and I talk about this with my general manager all the time, and he's just fantastic about this, and it's going to give him a big head if he's watching this right now. But he follows up, he and my staff follow up with every single person. You will not come into our store and not get followed up with. And if you think about your own interactions in retail, that's pretty rare. And it's probably not because they want to give you bad service, but they don't have something like Clientbook that will do it. It will not go away. You will not be lost in the weeds. You will be followed up with and be brought back into the store.
Great. Anything you wanted to add, Brandon?
Yeah, I'll say, as great as Clientbook is for those existing customers that you have, it's amazing, and Ryan was alluding to this in his store, for those potential customers. And somebody walks into the store and you want to, they're looking around, well, why don't I text you a few pictures of some of the things that you're looking at today, and then you can have it and share with whomever you might need to share that with. And so I get their name, I put their number in Clientbook, we pull in your products, so I'm quickly sending the couple items that they're looking at, so they have the picture there, and the name of the item. And then I either set a tag, I could create what we have called sales opportunities, right? Either way works great. I just hit that button for them, and then boom, I've got all my reminders set up for me, for my staff. Hey, reach out the next day, see how they're doing, reach out a few days later, right? Like there's a pattern, and there's what we call best practices to get those customers back into your store and make that purchase. And like Ryan said, that's really unique. Retailers don't do that. If you walk in, you leave, and they're not going to be reaching out to you in most cases, but you're providing a very personalized level of service to that potential customer. Now, I get it, holiday season, and you just want to make sure that you do what you can focus on, what you have the time to do, but that would be my normal answer to that.
And as you mentioned, maybe start off simple with something like the 6-month engagement ring check and clean. And that's something that it's a big sale, first time customer, a very valuable future customer. So something like that starting out slow might really work well. Thanks.
Yep.
We have a question here about a little bit more technical. Retailer writes, going through database to tag clients is way too time consuming. Does Clientbook pick up sales history and automatically tag clients that have purchased certain lines so we can send mass texts?
Yeah, so we do pull in sales history. We don't automatically tag them based off of that, but what the customer success manager can do, if you're able to export a list from your point of sale of everybody that purchased X item, it's really simple to upload them, and we'll automatically tag all those customers. So although it's not directly doing it based off of looking at the purchase history, if you're able to pull that list from your point of sale, we can do that really simply for you in seconds.
Cool. Another retailer writes, does Clientbook integrate with email marketing platforms such as Klaviyo? Oh God, how do you spell that? Klaviyo. Klaviyo.
Yeah, so we don't directly integrate with those other marketing systems. They're great, and we think they're great at what they do. And we're really focused on this personalized touch. Now, you could send an email through Clientbook, but for most cases, we would recommend text, and so we're very heavily focused on text.
Cool, thank you. Another retailer writes, what's the best way to segment my customer list? Do I need to go through it all at once if I haven't been taking notes? Maybe you can talk a little bit about best practices for getting those lists, VIP lists, Steady Eddie lists, etc.
Yeah, you want to define your own parameters a bit. I mean, what I showed you there is how I think about it, and a handful of my friends in the industry, how we kind of all look at that. Yet we might disagree on what exactly constitutes a VIP, or what exactly constitutes a one-time customer, or a new customer. Whatever that fits into this bucket. But you do want to acknowledge that there's customers that are out there that there's a massive opportunity for them to make a high average ticket. There's ones out there that it might not be the highest ticket, but if you get them through the door, these are great customers. And then, do you have a plan for new customers to turn them into these steady customers of yours and VIP customers of yours eventually? So I wouldn't try to go too complex with it. I think 3 is probably enough, at least when you're starting out. And you mostly define this initially off sales criteria. So you're going to define it off sales and quantity of sold. So some people would think, It's really not about did they buy $10,000 of one time, but rather they bought 4 different items within a certain period of time, and that makes them a very, very active client.
And you want to keep in touch with people like that
Yes.
and build a relationship too, so they don't forget you, your name, your store, and what you're willing to do. Do you have any recommendations, now that you mentioned it, about nurturing those new customer relationships? Say somebody comes in, could you program Clientbook, for example, once a new customer is entered into the program, the platform, to say, 10% off your next visit, or we noticed your birthday is in a couple of months, or your wife's birthday, here's an idea for you. What's the best way to kind of nurture those relationships along?
Yeah, I mean, we have a whole list of things at Clientbook that we talk with retailers about, and they're the things that you just mentioned, Barbara. There's an invite in for this holiday event, or it's a clean and check, and or this new line, or just a simple thank you or a review request. And we show this list of potential clienteling activities to retailers all the time. And our simple kind of question is, so would you want your store to do these things? Yes, absolutely. Everybody looks at that and said, these are all great. How many of these do you think you're getting done now? And then it's kind of sporadic and all over the place. So there's pretty wide agreement of these are the touch points we would like to do. Everybody just falls into the same, it's just too time consuming, I can't get it done. And that's when Brandon was highlighting kind of how we program this out for your store, that it doesn't need to be time consuming and difficult anymore. You could really accomplish this through a product like Clientbook.
And I would imagine that once you dedicate some time to understanding the app, doing a little training, working with your staff on database, your customer lists and categories, that it really pays back as soon as you can dedicate yourself to doing a little bit of work up front and then reaping the rewards down the line, because it won't be helter-skelter anymore. It'll be, in categories, it'll be timed, it'll be programmed, which is the beauty of an app like Clientbook.
And I think, listen, I really think that we have a crazy couple weeks ahead of us. It's going to be a great holiday season. That doesn't mean we shouldn't shoot out and try to get every single customer through our doors and make it even better. But I do think that in 2022, there is going to be eventual change. And that doesn't mean that we need to stop. We just need to take a look at the things that we're not doing now and say, yeah, I should make that a part of my business. And when you look at the kind of the ROI of it all, of what Brandon pointed out of kind of lifetime value, how could we not prioritize this? So it is something that we're passionate about helping people get to.
Years ago, I remember every store in the world would always have a marketing plan, right? So they knew that a month ahead of time, they had to put together their Valentine's Day ads, et cetera, et cetera. But as you were mentioning earlier, the value of people who have already walked in your door, not trying to get a new customer through print or radio or cable advertising, but working with the folks that know who you are, probably live within a certain geographic radius of your store, that interaction directly with the customer, tailored, going from your store to them, that's something we didn't really have 10 years ago. We didn't have the ability to really do that easily. And if you're like most retailers I know, like 2 weeks before Valentine's Day, you'd be like, oh man, I got to get an ad together, and this kind of like really you'll sleep better at night.
Yep, perfect way to put it.
So we have another retailer who sent in a question, and they are asking, are all the reminders set by the retailer, or are they loaded in the system already for use?
Yeah, so we have, as we've mentioned before, we have best practices, which means here's what most jewelers or other type of retailer might do, right? And it's specific to, the vertical. So in jewelry, since we're talking jewelry, here's what jewelers might do for reminders. We load those in, then it's all customizable from that point. And the only reason we load those in is because most people would prefer to have a starting point as opposed to just a blank canvas. But if you would prefer to do your own, or you have your own processes, you have your own reminders that you think are important, yeah, I mean, it's really simple. Click of a button, gets it added in, and then it will be in there going forward.
Cool. So we have a question that's come in about texting. Could you give us a breakdown of the percentage of jewelers using Clientbook who text more frequently than they send emails? Do you have a breakdown of that? Or I know texting is.
I don't have a breakdown, but within Clientbook, large majority of them are texting. You know, not every, like the way that it works within Clientbook is you have a customer and then you can determine that customer's preferred method of communication. And most customers nowadays are choosing text. Some customers still would prefer an email, and so you just note that in their profile, or when you create them, you just note that it's, instead of text, you want email. And then, or, you know, we have WhatsApp as well, right? You can notify that preferred method, and then all the messaging between that customer from Clientbook and them is through that preferred method of communication. But a large majority of our retailers are using texting because their clients are preferring it. There's, you know, it's just a quicker, easier, more personal. Like I always like to say, you want to be in the same spot that these customers, friends, and family are in. If you're trying to build a personal relationship with them, right? You don't want to be in their spam folders. You want to be where their friends and family are, and which is text messages. And you know, that's quite the honor to be able to get into there. You don't want to abuse it, but most clients are preferring that.
Got it. And what if you're a jeweler, and Ryan, maybe you can answer this one, who's been around for a number of years, and you've got a considerable database of customers, but you may not know if you have their cell phones or numbers of their landline numbers. Would you recommend that a retailer actually do some due diligence and call clients and ask them for that information? How would you help what would you do to help a retailer build their cell phone information in their database?
You know, data capture is not a one-time fix. It's like an everyday habit. You know, it is a constant, and we're pretty good at it at my store, but we're always trying to get better at it. And the only way it does get better is like day in and day out, confirming details of your client, who are and not knowing kind of the, if you have Clientbook yet or don't have it, or what point of sale the person's on. But there's normally ways you could kind of look at capture somehow or another. Do you have all your VIPs mobile? Do you have all their birthdays, anniversaries? And then at least if you identify it, you can make a plan for it and start, you know, hey, we're cleaning up our, you know, just want to make sure you're part of this, you know, club that we do at the store, and get these dates, and we're going to send you a coupon, and you know, but you got to identify what you're trying to hit. So you got that kind of evergreen, every day we're trying to capture, and then I would try to somehow look at a database and see, you know, based off our really active clientele, how good are we at capturing their details.
Yeah, and maybe offer something, you know, for example, at point of purchase, you know, come back for a cleaning, or if they purchase a watch, come in for a watch battery. Well, hey, we'll send you a text message. What's the, you know, what number can we use? And, you know, that makes sense. And Brandon, I'm sorry, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if all you're trying to do is you have a bunch of clients with a bunch of phone numbers and you don't know if it's a landline or a cell phone, we do have a service. There is a little bit of an additional cost there, where we can run all those numbers and see if it's a landline or a cell phone automatically, and we can even get the cell carrier. Now, we can't unfortunately say, yes, this is so-and-so's cell phone, right? We can't tie that back to a name. There's, you know, personal information and data rights there, but we could, if all you're trying to do is, here's my list of numbers, which are cell phones, which are landlines, that's something that we have the ability to run through for an additional cost.
Very cool. And that would give somebody at least a starting point to know which numbers are valid for text messaging.
Correct.
We have a retailer who's written a question. They already use Clientbook, and she is asking that she says she would love the ability to change the date in client activities since she might not have time to sit with the data for months. For example, jewelry sold, ring checked, then I could automate a reminder text. As it is, the activity is only able to be listed on the date I push the button. Can you answer that one, or do you want to take that one?
Yeah,
off?
I mean, that's a great, feedback suggestion. We love hearing from our clients on how they could, how we could improve the product for them. For those that aren't familiar with Clientbook, what this customer is saying is in a section on a customer, you can press a little button and add what happened with that customer on that day, and it will add it there, kind of a note with the date. And she's just saying, well, I want to change that, so like if it happened yesterday instead of today, I want to be able to go in and adjust that. So yeah, we appreciate that, and we'll definitely mark that down.
Great, thank you. And here's a question, probably our last one. Do we have time to get this up and running for the weeks before the holiday?
Sure do. Our suggestion right now is getting set up with Clientbook, getting your customers in there. Let us segment them a little bit for you and develop an action plan for the holidays. And I'm sure you've seen, you watch the webinar and you see all these great things that Clientbook can do for customer retention and all the things, the projects we might work on together in the new year. For right now, if it seems really appealing to you to get your customers through the door because their conversion rates are so much better, profits that much better, and you want to make sure that you don't miss an opportunity this holiday, then I would suggest our fourth quarter setup in Clientbook. And yeah, we're normally set up very quickly, but I would call today. I would give us a call at this number below.
One of the keys, sorry, Barbara, real quick, one of the keys for getting started here before the holidays is what I was mentioning with the what we call sales triggers, but it's these either they could be reminders or messages that will go out after a certain point from when the customer made a purchase. And if you got started today, we're capturing all that history of what's happening over the next 6 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. And if we don't get started until January, then we've missed all that history of what's happened over the 6 weeks. So that is one of the things. And like Ryan said, we have a fourth quarter setup that's a lot simpler, a lot easier, less time consuming for you as a customer. And then we're able to start capturing that data that can be used going forward in the new year.
That's terrific. And I would imagine that a lot of retailers get a lot of new customers that come in during the next 6 weeks. So at least get that information. Look at the demo at clientbook.com/demo, call them or email them. And we have one more question that came in. And since we're not at the hour mark and we still have our audience here, I'm going to let you answer it. Any best practices for motivating the sales team efforts and getting all client information and using Clientbook as their go-to means for client interaction?
Oh, lots of motivation techniques there. I think you do want to, kind of set the table as to the why. I think it's always important to address as leaders in a company why exactly we think this is a worthwhile change for our company. And you have to kind of loop them in on certain things that they might not be, it might not be front and center, but they don't have the same context of the business that you do. So I do think that needs to be explained in a fun kind of way and something meaningful for them. And then I think you need to not ask a tremendous amount right from the beginning, but rather very simply what your expectations for them to do. And then I think you need to gamify it and goal it. And by that, I mean, you're going to put it in their hands and you're going to say, okay, from this day on, we're going to review this every morning. Who had the most, shared the most wish lists, who reached out to the most VIPs. We're going to have a contest around it. And you're going to track it. The moment you start measuring something in your business is the moment that it starts improving for the most part. Mm-hmm. And you guys will be shocked. If you're not using Clientbook yet, the moment that you can measure this kind of activity of your staff, accountability just rises automatically. So it's you put a couple of those things together, and I think you'll find that adoption really isn't an issue.
Well, that's a great way to end the webinar. Good advice, Ryan. Thank you so much. Brandon and Ryan, as always, a pleasure to have you here. I wanted to just let our audience know that we're going to be sending out a link so that you can watch this webinar again. We'll send it out by day's end, or you can give it to one of your colleagues who hasn't been here today and they can watch it. We'll also post a video of the webinar on the INSTORE website in a couple of days. And you can access this webinar as well as the entire Clientbook library of webinars under the Education tab at instoremag.com. So again, Brandon and Ryan, thank you so much. And thanks to our audience for taking the time to tune in today. Have a great rest of the day. And thanks.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the questions.
Sure. Bye-bye now.